Hello, hello. The song that is playing in my mind right now is Are you going to just try? I don't know. Strange things are happening. A stranger over the world. Are you? Mm. Hello, hello, hello. I'm Kita. I've not been introducing myself in all the other live streams because I have this celebrity feeling where I feel like you should know who I am by now. But I think I should be introducing myself actually. But you should know who I am. I'm Kita. I'm fucking Kita, bro. Wait, I did not use the F word. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Bidi 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 bidi. Da da da. Da 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 da. Oh, I have to share the links out. Just give me a few seconds to do that. Let me feeling myself. Cause what is this accent? Group two. Group three. Good morning, Blessing. Is this your first time joining the live? I don't think I've seen you in the previous lives. Really? Okay. So, well. I'll just give people like 5 minutes or something. So we have like 5 people on the live, and I just tax. You guys, let's just say I'm going through it. I'm having a very crazy work week. I'm not really enjoying myself. Like, don't let my face fool you. My face might be shining, but I'm going through it. I'm going through it. Ah, adulthood will test your patience, you guys. Thank you. But I'm like, even though, I want to feel good. Shush. Okay. I think it's even, I'm hungry right now. I'm not going to lie. But it's too early for me to be eating. Like, who eats at 5 a.m.? Like 5:29. Eats at 5:29. So today we're just going to be talking about books, which is one of my favorite topics to talk about books. So let me just give you guys a brief history of me as a reader. So growing up, my parents had like they had a library and they had like several books. Mostly the books were mostly novels really. My mom really loved novels and she used to collect like novels from certain authors. For instance, she had the entire Daniel Steele collection. Good morning, Prudy. She had the entire Daniel Steele collection. And my dad, I think he had a lot of Jeffrey Archers, he had a lot of Dan Brown. What was my dad reading Dan Brown? James Hadley Chase. And I think ah, what was that other author that writes love? I can't really remember. But I know they both read Sidney Sheldon. Yeah, there were sure a lot of books in my house. So my parents, when you're in all these primary school things, like you you are given all these small storybooks and stuff. So that was where I actually started. And I used to be the kind of person to read one book enough times. Hello, Festus. I used to be one. I used to read one book enough times till I could start reciting the book from my head. That was how I was as a kid. I've always been this overzealous person. Like I was told the story, you guys. And sometimes I still remember these books. Like I still randomly just get chapters of it. Like all these books, because I used to read one. I would read one book. I read it so much. Like I read the same book so much because probably I like the book or something. So like when I was like what 5, 6, I stopped reading one single book because I had like a lot of other options. They kept buying me all these story books. So I started, there wasn't much social media then. So the only way to really enjoy or have a lot of fun is probably to watch DVDs. Who remembers DVDs? DVDs, BCDs, and those movies now, or not those discs, maybe borrow from your friend or something like that. Very fun. But I think for me, the turning point when I started to read a lot more was when we moved away from Osun State and we moved to Lagos. So because we moved to Lagos, right? I hardly saw my parents around that period. Like it was just everybody. It was just chaotic. So we're usually at home. We're usually at home alone, and I was about 6 or 7 at that time. So it's just read a lot of books around that period. Like me and my brothers, they were very small though. They just liked to copy everything I did. Even till now, I don't know their problem. But we'll just sit together and read books. I used to read all these books this big. You just see me like lost in a book or something. Just seeing how many other lives I could be living at the moment. Like, oh, so I could be living this different life where like I'm a millionaire's daughter or something. So I would read The Famous Five. I don't know if you are familiar with that book, The Famous Five. Good morning. I would read The Famous Five. I'll read I think I did a lot of Daniel Steele and I was still so young. I basically didn't even understand what I was reading. I just knew I was reading books. But I grew like from that I kept on reading books, so I'm not even going to lie to you. In fact, I started writing my own storybooks. I still writing my own storybooks. And then I got to a point in my life, that's when we moved, because we also lived in Abuja for a while. So we moved to Abuja and I made new friends. Like I was able to make new friends in Abuja. Sha. But then I was still reading a lot of books, and one of my friends also used to write books. I don't even know why I'm telling people this super story. But then, I was always reading. That's the point I'm trying to make. I was always reading. But it's not so much about how much you read, like as it is about the quality of what you read, right? So I read a lot of books, and even in secondary school, that was when it was even worse. I used to read like 2 novels a week, even with schoolwork on top of schoolwork. I'll be just like once I start a novel, if it's so good, I have to finish it. Like I don't care if they and in my mom's library there are books that are this big, like th- I read them. Like I if there's a book, so that's why I spend like even now I'm just trying to break the habit of being extremely introverted, right? I used to spend most of my time inside reading. So it didn't even occur to me that there's life outside, or like it's normal to be outside with people and laughing or going out. Also people started to spell it out to me like, oh Kita, you should be going out, right? Like you're supposed like, oh, I see. I didn't know, sorry. So moving from that point, even in I think 2019, which was 2019 my highest record of books read. Was it 2019 or 2020? It must be 2020. I read over 100 books that year from um I don't really read a lot of romance, but I read a lot of young adults books and young adult fiction and a lot of self-help books. That was mostly, I would say that was from 2019 to 2020. I'm not even kidding. Like I read so many books I could not really recollect how many books I've read. But I sit down like this and I start writing. I've read this book. I've read this book. I've read this book. I've read this book. Back then, I used to use the Good Morning Montserrat. I used to use the what's it called? An app called AnyBooks. Who knows AnyBooks here? I used to use an app called AnyBooks. So AnyBooks allows you to download AnyBooks. AnyBooks allows you to download them. So I had access to lots of books. I had access. I was just reading away, like I was just reading for living. I was not on Instagram. I was not on. I think TikTok was available that time. I was not on TikTok. I used to read a book a day. Like I'll start a novel in a day, finish the novel, and I'm very fast and I remember everything I read. Good morning, good morning. So I was just that was my life. So basically, I did not exist in this society. So I lived in my head. I lived a lot in my head. But the good thing about reading a lot of books is you're exposed to a lot of ideas and you live beyond your years, right? You've lived in so many people's shoes, which makes it easy for you to converse with people, to understand people. You're able to be empathetic. You're able to see things from other people's points of views, right? You're able to relate to other people. So you don't necessarily think life has to be a certain way, right? Because you have lived life in multiple ways. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. And I hope I'm not sounding too I don't even know how I'm sounding right now. But yeah, so I had experienced so much at like from such not like I really personally had experienced anything myself. Like I just read a lot of people's opinions on things. But I think the book that was like my turning point in terms of my career wise, or I'll say right now, would have been Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that book was amazing for me because it's helped me understand the fundamentals of business itself and how life works. Because prior to that, I'd always wondered why there was like inequality of wealth, like why some people had more money than others, you know, and the idea that I now understood that it was not because the system is completely rigged against people. It is because it is actually hard. I don't know how to explain it. Like not like the system, yes, might just be rigged against a lot of people, but it is definitely hard, right? It is hard to be consistent, to be disciplined. It's basically very hard to do all the things that continuously brings in wealth, right? So um that book really was an eye opener. It opened my mind to several ideas and it allowed me to be able to see life for what it truly was and for me to be able to see education for what it really was. And so I started to research. And that's what books do to you, right? Good morning. That's what books do to you. They force you to research, they force you to learn, to know more. So I started researching the educational system. And that was the beginning of my of my parents' troubles, not my troubles, because it was the beginning of peace of mind for me. And I realized exactly what was going, and I was like, "Ha, wow, this is not going to work." Like because the more you actually know by reading a lot of books, the more you realize the kind of world you are living with, and how if you are not careful, you are going to lose. Right? I like to think of this world as a game, so to say. The best players are the ones who have thoroughly researched the games and research the game and they know exactly what their unfair advantage is. Like they know what their unfair advantage is. They know how they can play to their strengths. They know their weaknesses and they know that of their opposition. They understand the system within the game. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say and I'm not over shalaing, right? So I realized that I was, everything they told me up to that point was more or less a lie. Or I wouldn't call it a lie. It was just from a perspective, right? And because, you know, if you don't grow up rich, if you don't grow up in a wealthy family, your perspective of life is not from it's like you're not thinking about life from a wealthy point of view, right? You are most likely thinking about life from a what's it called? A scarcity point of view where nothing is enough, right? So I still said there were two world views, and the way these specific types of people think, they are different from each other. So I started with Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure if I check my journals, I'll see some of the books I read within that period because I journal, I read the book, I take notes, I journal what I've read. So like next time I can just remember. That was back then. Though. I don't really do much of journaling after reading these days. Right. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read The Richest Man in Babylon. I read I think there were about maybe seven books under Rich Dad Poor Dad under the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, and I read about six of them. I read um um yeah, I've read so many books. It's even hard to even be picking or cherry picking which ones I've read. But I do have like a list of books I read in 2020 that where when I read like 100 books. So over 100 actually. But yeah, as I was saying, reading those books opened my mind because now you as a person right now, you don't have proximity, you don't have that closeness to a rich person. Your best bet is to read a book. So you can understand the way that they think. And I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, and I tell them, you need to read more books. You need this thing that you have going on, this problem that you have going on, a book will fix it in a couple of, I don't know, hours, because you have deeper understanding of everything, right? Look, if I was to compress everything I'm teaching in MSM into a single book, I'm sure it will be packed, right? So what I'm saying is reading books, I don't even know how to put it. But reading books is extremely important because it creates that proximity that you cannot get in real life. No rich entrepreneur is going to sit down with you for 7 hours talking about his life story and trying to teach you. Right? You get that in a book because a book can be spread. It's like a set of ideas that you can spread around, you can share with with a lot of people, right? At the same time. So that is one of the reasons why I have to let you have to read books. So many times building a business, your eyes will see shaggy. Even right now, my eye is currently seeing shaggy. I didn't even post much yesterday. I was just drained and like I was overall just tired. Right? Even though I went out to losing my hair to just to relax and all and feel better. I came back and business will show you shege. That's what I'm going to say. Business will show you shege. But so far so good. The only reason I've been able to, manage most of these things is because I've probably read one person's experience. Maybe I read a book 2 years ago where somebody was going through the exact thing that I am now going through. Of course, I'll pick from that knowledge. I tap into that knowledge. Oh, this man said he went through this and this is how he solved it. I can just do the exact same thing and see if it works for me, right? Or someone I know, which is why I tell you I'm a great consultant. If you are looking for a business consultant, before you start that business, look for capital. Come and consult with me first. So we even know if that your business idea is viable or not, right? But what was I saying before I lost my train of thought? Yes, because I read a lot of books, I've been exposed to so many ideas. So I know when something is going to work and when something is not going to work. So if someone is saying, "Oh, I'm going through this problem," and I can recollect because I don't forget what I read. At the risk of saying I have a very photographic memory. So someone will say, "Oh, I read this book." I mean, the person says, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't blah blah blah," and I just remember that this book I read, maybe the psychology of wealth, psychology of money. I remember the author said this, 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 this. okay, so this is what you are going to do. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. You're not going to. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to, all because I have read a lot of books, right? Also, when you read books and you go out and you meet with people who have also read books, and I'm going to tell you, you will never find people that read a lot of, beyond non-fiction fiction books. I'm talking non-fiction books. You never. I've hardly met people who have read as much as I've read that are stupid. Let me just put it that way. I've met a lot of stupid people in my life. In fact, let me even just say this. Back when I still used to go to OAU, I hated talking to people because a lot of people are just were just unnecessarily dumb. Like, and for me, when I meet people that are just, I cannot hide it. I cannot hide the fact that I think you don't have sense. Like, I'll just be amazed. My eyes just like, mad oh, so there are people that are this. But when I read people that have read as much as I've read, the conversation is so smooth. It flows, right? I'm able to network easily because I'm like, oh, you've read this book? Oh, have you also read this book? And they're like, yeah, I've read this book. Have you read this book? Like, I'm going through this, blah, blah, blah. Recommends me a book, I recommend them a book, and there's this kind of flow because there's value being shared. So basically, I've just told you a lot of stories. Let me talk about how you can actually read more books. How you can read more books, because there's just a lot of benefits to reading. I cannot overemphasize. There is a lot of benefits to reading, reading, reading. And I'm sure you remember. I don't know if you were in my community back then, but I recently just got. Like, I'm looking at my books right now. I probably could show you guys all my books looks like. I have tons, and this is just my. It's not even as big as my mom's library, anyways. So what's there to brag about? But I hope to have like more books. I'll probably buy more as soon as I'm done reading these ones. But let me just tell you guys, when it comes to reading, you can never go wrong. So what? Here's my own personal opinion on reading books as somebody that has read a lot of books. First one is you don't need to read all books. Not all books are important for you, right? I read mostly according to the stage I'm at. When I had self-confidence issues, right, I read books that helped me become more self-confident. So in that, I read books from Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I read You Are Badass by Jen Sincero. So those two books I totally recommend for anyone that is going through self-confidence issues, like you don't believe in yourself, all of that kind of thing, right? Yes, I have about four books from Seth Godin. I have Tribes. I have This is Marketing. I think I also have The Deep. And I have one more book. I don't know. It should be here somewhere. Well, I have about four books from Seth Godin. I like the guy. He's a cool guy and he's very smart. So yeah, so you read what you need, right? If you are just starting your journey in entrepreneurship, I will advise you start with a lot of books that are mostly about, not quite, not very, I won't call them spirituality. I'll most likely just call them self-dev spiritual, I don't know. Books like the Four Agreements by I can't remember the author. I read that last year. What was the name of it? Let me look for it. Is it the Four Agreements? Yes, the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Don Miguel Ruiz. Um, please be writing down these books as I'm saying them. So I also advise you read The Power of Now. I found that book very thorough. I should even reread it at this point. For people that don't know, if you don't know where you're at in life, you don't know what is going on, you don't know what you want to do with your life, I would recommend you read Ikigai. Ikigai, just look for it. Once you search Ikigai, the Japanese secrets for long lasting happiness, something like that. Then you don't know what you are doing with your life, you're just starting out. The Alchemist. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, I think. I think is that the author? The Alchemist. Yes, I need a copy of that book. Don't worry, I'll get to that. You don't have to remember everything you read now. The Alchemist. Yes, you need to read The Alchemist. All right. So, um, once you start out reading those books, what it does for you is you are able to develop the kind of mindset you need to overcome challenges in business, because there are a lot of challenges. I'm not going to lie to you. There's so many things that are going to happen. They're going to test your patience. They're going to stress you, and you need to be able to, to figure your way out of that without going crazy. Without going crazy. So, so like I was saying, you read what you need. Currently, I needed a lot of books on marketing, and that's all I've been reading on community and marketing. So I've been reading books like Sell Like Crazy. I've been reading books like, Building a Story Brand, Seth Godin's This is Marketing, Tribes by Seth Godin as well. Basically, The Mind of a Strategist by Kemechi Ohaime. So it's a Japanese book, and that book is complex ASF. Um, uh, yeah, a couple of books that I just got that I've not really gotten into like that. So basically, reading a lot of more intense business books to help me scale my business, right? And that's something that you want to do, which I advise in the community. I say this a lot. You're a member of this community and you don't read books, I don't know what to do with you. In fact, I want to fire you from being a member of our community. Go and get your shit together. Ah, anyways, so you read what you need, right? You read what you need. The issues and the trials and tribulations you are going through is what will determine the kind of books you should be reading. You cannot be struggling with self confidence and saying the next book on your list is a marketing book. It does not work that way, right? So you look at the issues that you are trying to solve in your life at that particular time, and you look for books that can match those particular issues. Of course, I like to check reviews before I actually read any book or before I buy them with my money. I'll go and read the reviews and see what other people are saying about those books. If I see that this book is not going to help me in the way I need it to help me, it's a no, 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 no. I'm not reading it, period. So, um, you don't need to finish every book. That's the next point. You don't need to finish every book. It's not every book you read that you read at once, right? Some of the books I read in a day, they were mostly fiction. But when you deal with non-fiction, you need to understand that you need time to take in the information that this is somebody telling you his whole life history in business. You cannot rush that kind of information. You cannot overload yourself with it, right? So you need to take your time to kind of just, take it in. Just take it in. So when you take in all of the information, you soak it up. It might take you a week to read. And this is how I like to read books. I like to break them down. So if I take a book and I see that the book has like, let's just say the book has 300 pages, right? Based on my reading speed, which I think I can't even remember what it is anymore. It's been a while I paid attention. But I typically read, if it's fiction though, I can read how many pages in a minute? I can't even remember. I can't just give you a figure. It's been a while I did. I had like a timer versus me reading kind of situation. But I read very fast and assimilate very fast too. But depending on how fast you are at reading, this is going to determine how many pages you'd want to read per day. But if you have 300 pages, best believe you can read about 30 pages a day. 30 pages a day for 10 days. Um, nice. 30 pages a day for 10 days will help you, finish that book faster. But you always want to define the number of pages that, you want to read per day. And that's what I do. Most of the time, I just read like, oh, I'll read 20 pages today, 20 pages tomorrow, 20 pages next tomorrow. Before I know, I'm done with the book. You know, it's usually more than 20 pages, you guys, about 50 pages or so that I read in a day. It might take you 2, 3 hours to do that. Might be early in the morning that you want to do that. Why I recommend it right? Read books, my people. Read books. So you read more books that way, and it's just a matter of consistency. If you do, kind of like watching, you're trying to finish this book on time. If you get to a point and you realize, okay, this book cannot help me anymore, you drop the book. It's not a must. Like, you're not reading to impress anybody. You are reading to assimilate. You are reading to understand. You are reading to, to soak up the knowledge. All right. So this is how I like to personally just read books. The first time I read a book, I just read the book to know where everything is in the book, to know how many things that this book covers, right? How much information this book covers. So most of the time, I would read a book. I might do like 50 pages a day, like 50 pages a day, and I'm just skimming through, skimming. So I just kind of know what is in each chapter. And the second time I read a book, it would be when I have that problem and I need a quick fix. So I could read Seth Godin's This Is Marketing and just rush through the book, and read everything. Like, oh, when I now need the knowledge, I say, oh, I remember. I don't know if other people can do that. I remember this thing is in chapter 5 where he talked about this thing. And I just opened chapter 5. I read through it again, and this time it's intention, it's intentionality. So I'm like, chapter 5. Hmm. I read through it, assimilate, understand, and I'm like, cute. Let me just go ahead and do this thing based on the book that I've read. So um I know, so that's what I'm looking at now, because one, I'm pretty fast. Two, my brain, I don't know, I'm pretty very, very, very. If I was not born in Nigeria, I used to tell my mom, I'm more or less I'm a genius. Hello, I'm seriously a genius. But it's all good. That's my fate. But I'll read a book and then I'll go back to it to reread it when I need that particular information. That's how I read. Now you have to discover your own reading style, which I think once I start to make YouTube videos again, those are some of the videos you'll be seeing on my channel: how to read books, what books to read, with book recommendations, all of that juicy stuff. you know Next year is going to be a blast because I'm going to be doing a lot of book recommendations, podcast recommendations. I used to do all these things when I used to make short videos, but I don't know, I'm not a fan of short videos. I usually have a lot to say and I feel bad when I need to compress everything I have to say into 30 seconds. All right, so you want to use audiobooks. Sometimes I'm on the go. I just don't have the time to sit and just read a book. So what I do is I listen to audiobooks, and you can find audiobooks on Spotify. You can find audiobooks on, YouTube. You can find audiobooks on an app called Script. It's a monthly subscription. Like, you have to pay every month for that app. Excuse me. So yes, I listen to audiobooks. Sometimes I listen to the audiobook and then I now know where everything is in the book. So I'm like, oh, I think this guy mentioned this thing in chapter 7. So I'm just going to go to the book. Most of the time I read an audiobook, I go and buy the hard copy for no reason. But no, I haven't mentioned. I'm about to set up this background so I can just showcase my books. Okay, Audible as well. All right. So I can just showcase my. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but that should happen very soon, pretty soon, sure, pretty soon. All right. You want to take notes. Some things you have to take note of. You know, you're reading something, you come across a book recommendation from the author. You come across maybe the author says a particular quote that resonates with you. You want to take notes of all of those things. Usually those are the things I have in my journals, just like a recommendation from an author, or I usually have this. These are some of the tools I use when I'm reading. Not every time I like to mark certain books. Sometimes I don't even want to touch my books. I also use this, I use this, I might be reading a book and I'll see something. I like to use post-it notes. Can you guys even see? Why is it colorless? I'll look for the pink. Okay. Why doesn't it have color? Can you guys see this pink? Anyways. So I use highlighters, I use sticky notes. Also, the other things that I recommend. I mean, reading is really fun. I have this cute, tiny journal. Not really a journal, just a note. It's A7. I recommend it. It can fit into your purse, and you can easily just have like. I used to use it for like a to-do list ish before. Then, if I read a book and I just want to write out a couple of things, look at all this cute. Whoa, this is a lot. How many things have I done in my life? Is it this much? 22nd of November. Search marketing 2021. Wow. Wow, this is a lot. Oh, I have a YouTube plan. It says research topic Monday, Tuesday finalize topic, Wednesday shoot video, Thursday thumbnail. The truth they don't tell you about money. Wow. Education is the key. Be yourself is bad advice. Follow your passion is wrong. God will provide is not an excuse to not manage your funds. Wow, this is so cool. This was 2021 me, by the way. Oh, I also have food stuff. Shit. Keeping this. I keep all my journals. But you want to get yourself something as little as that you can just slip into your purse or into your bag. That will help. So I've been trying to work on my self-esteem. I have read the 7 pillars of self-esteem and I'm currently reading the confidence code. That's amazing. Keep doing that. And if you'd like, you could share those books on the community. If you have them as like soft copy, you can share them in the community group if you want. If you have books, kindly share them on the community group. Let everyone have access to it. All right, so we have skim through, take notes. Yeah, okay. So another thing that I do is I meditate on books. I read a book and I just sit for hours. I don't do anything. Sometimes when I'm not online, you think I'm probably maybe scrolling or something. I'm just basically I'm just sitting and I'm just doing nothing but just trying to remember what I've read, trying to recollect what I've read so that it can become a part of me, which is something I used to do when I was in uni. I'll just read. And most people don't know that's my secret because I got to a point in AU. I was reading on the day of the exam. And because I have a photographic memory, I just sit down, just flip through the pages, like basically stare at it, flip, stare at it, flip, and I just sit down. I just try to recollect everything. The beautiful thing about being me is once I've seen it, unless I didn't open the page, once I have seen it, once I get there, I'm going to fucking kill it in the exam hall. In fact, I'll take it up a notch. If people are doing like these revisions that most people do, I'll just stand there and just listen, like deep, intense listening. Get all the answers, everything. I get to the exam hall. I do so well. For somebody that just read on the exam day, most times I get B. Like I read that day, I'll get a B, and I'll get my B, and I'll go. But I didn't really like that lifestyle. It wasn't for me. But then, uh, even with books right now, I just read them. I said I skim through, and I just sit down and just try and process everything, process the information, and it helps for a number of reasons. One, you're able to introspect on what you just read. This is somebody's life experience. this this is their own problem solving method. You don't want to just be in a hurry to take in all of that. You want to take it slow. And that's what I do. I relax and I just let it go in. Like I'm just chill. I'm just chill, which is what I advise you to do. Just take it in, soak it in. Let that soak it in. Let it be ringing in your head. Don't rush, you know. And when I say skim through, it's not like something like this. Skim through. Like just, but not like I'm reading one line 20 times because I'm trying to memorize it. Like I don't like it's about application, and that's why I'm trying to meditate now to make sure that my brain is understanding that if we ever find ourselves in this kind of situation, we need to do this, you know. So that's how I do. So now later on, I might just go back to read the book. That's why I like to have the hard copies, and I might just feel like I have a selling problem right now. I need to check sell like crazy to see what is going on. So you know, you read books, you read more books, and then you get recommendations from people. These are my tips for reading a lot of books actually. Like that's everything I have here. You meditate, you introspect, and I believe those are the most important parts of reading, right? So, you guys, do you have any questions for me? I'll be taking your questions right now. Oh, and yesterday I took a screenshot of the questions that were asked. I don't know if the people that asked those questions are on the live today. Let me look for it. Okay. So, Bernie Stokes asked, he said, okay, no, that knows. Um, Okay, yeah, Benny Stokes. He said, please, I wanted to ask, sometimes we or me specifically, I make lots of plans on of what I want to do and goals, but then sometimes it becomes overwhelming. In order to not face this overwhelm with certain goals, you need to break them down. You don't set too many things at once, right? Even for me, like I can call myself a workaholic and I do a lot, really. I do the most. But sometimes you still have to break these things down and slow down. I know you may be excited, you may feel motivated. I might motivate you to want to take action. And you might feel, wow, I need to do this now. But even in your motivated state, I need you to calm down and write out what you can actually do in a day. And I used to say this earlier this year that most of the time you can't do more than 4 things in a day. I'm not even going to lie to you. Besides your everyday hustle, you can't do more than four major things in a day. So typically, when I have a lot of things to do, I tend to not, if it's a lot, if I'm seeing 6 things, I always make sure that those are not six big things, like things that take like 5 hours. I don't want to have six of that on my schedule. I'd rather have like something that takes 5 hours, something that takes like 2 minutes, 10 minutes. Just try to not compress everything and have so much going on. You break everything down. And I think there's a class we're going to be talking about this in MSN, you know. So you guys, that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, book recommendations you feel I should share with you, go ahead and ask me. I will answer. Let's go. Well. Okay. On time management, you should read books like Essentialism, um, Getting Things Done by um, David Allen, Atomic Habits. And there's another book called just that one was just Habits. Then yeah, those four books should help. It's compulsory to already have a personal website when starting out as a freelancer. And this is totally off the topic, but at some point you're going to need a website. But that's when you have a lot to share for your portfolio. Until then, you know, you can get away with not having a website. I have a lot of friends that don't have websites and they're doing pretty good, making good money. More questions? Da, da, da. All right. I don't think you guys have any questions for me. I need recommendations on sales and marketing. I think I already mentioned it earlier on. I said sell like crazy. I said this is marketing. Tribes also would help. Those three books are the only grail for me when it comes to marketing. All right, guys. I hope this particular class was, or will I say, live stream was insightful. I hope it's helped you understand more about reading books. One of my major goals actually is to promote the reading culture, to make sure that more Nigerians are reading books. And I need this to spread. I need these ideas to spread. So I'm begging or asking that you share this class with your friends, you share on your status, you share to your groups, let more people have access to this information. I'm begging you, I'm begging, share it out, share out, share out. And I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Oh man, well, this is day 12. By tomorrow, we'll be on day 13. That's amazing. Once we get to day 15, I'm going to be so excited, you guys. It means I've done half. Anyways, I'd like to go back to probably sleep, and then when I wake up, I'll start my work and my daily activities. Until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.